World War 3 is a free-to-play FPS game that I went back to into the other day, since I wanted to see how the game is doing now in the beginning of 2025. But also, since I recently has played older Battlefield games, such as Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4, but also the newest Battlefield game in the series, which is still Battlefield 2042, where I made a bit of a comparison with the newest Battlefield-like game out there, which is Delta Force. I therefore got a bit curious to see how World War 3 is holding up, especially since this is a game that seems to have, like a cat if you will, several lives. Because after the first release, which I believe was in 2018, it kind of died and then got resurrected and kind of died again. And I was there already in the beginning playing the game early on, and the game didn't get that good of a start. Have to say that, having performance issues mostly related to their servers. Well, the game was forgotten a couple of years before the former developers Farm51 decided to give it another try. They made it free to play and tried to pump up the volume a bit, even though a lot of players at this point, myself included, still saw the potential in the actual game, but kind of doubted that Farm51 would be able to fix the problems with the servers and other issues in the game. And the launch didn't go well. Well, the servers couldn't handle it, and they were almost back to square one. They tried again, but the game, even though it was free to play now, was already hurt, so there wasn't many players left that actually played and believed in the game anymore. Fast forward to today, the game is still up and running, but with a new developer, which is Wishlist Games. There's honestly been so many turns when it comes to this game that I have almost forgotten them. If you want to know more about this, you can go back and also check out some of my older World War 3 videos, since I've been coming back to this game once in a while over the years. When I log into the game once more, a game, by the way, that is only available on PC, you can nowadays download it on Steam, which wasn't the case back in the days. The game is still running using a launcher, something I saw when downloading again, that they had updated when it comes to the launcher. And I do see that they've quite recently at least have been doing updates in the game due to their latest patch. It's nice to see that, since I believe there wasn't any updates made at all last year. They've also recently released a battle pass that is free to everyone. And if I'm gonna quote the devs, they say, "To those who have stuck with us through all the setbacks, those who have decided to give the game another chance, and all the new players who are coming to give it a try." But even so, World War 3 must be considered to be more or less a dead game now in 2025. Just looking into the Steam charts gives us a hint that there's only around 130 players on average and a peak of 382 players. So if you decide to give World War 3 a try, or as I'm doing here, going back and playing a game that I played before, then you might have to be ready to wait some to get into matches, especially if you're not playing during peak hours your local time. So how does it feel to play World War 3 then? Well, since I usually main as a sniper in most FPS games, that's what you also see me doing most of the time in this video. I'm using a sniper, by the way, called the Toknost, but also a few clips with the hard-hitting M200. And I must say, it feels pretty good and rewarding to snipe in this game. And if you're into vehicle gameplay, you can become quite a devastator in World War 3 if you're good at handling a tank, as an example. But there's plenty of regular guns to choose from as well, and I believe they did a pretty good job when it comes to their version of a gunsmith, if you will, where there's enough options, meaning attachments available when you unlock them, in order for you to tweak a certain gun to your liking. The gunplay in World War 3 is one of the strongest assets in the game, I believe, and it feels quite dense and rewarding, and there's more like character when it comes to these weapons in World War 3 compared to an even more arcade shooter such as Delta Force. The guns have a bit more weight in World War 3 and also more recoil. Talking about weight, well, the movement system in this game is slower than some of you guys are most likely used to, and some would definitely describe the movement as clunky. But this adds a bit of realism into the game, also having an authentic armor system in the game and a lot of national military forces to choose from when it comes to uniforms and all that stuff. But even so, it is not a milsim per se, but has a bit more of realism, or whatever we want to call it, compared to some of the other more arcadish games in the same genre out there. Just watch the clips later in the video, for example, when I'm scoping in using the M200 sniper. It takes forever, although it has to be added that it has to do also with the actual build that I'm using. With that said, you can also customize your soldier to become a bit lighter and therefore faster moving by not using the heaviest armor or an helmet and gear overall. The game modes in World War 3 is quite familiar to most FPS gamers, I believe, especially if you've played Battlefield games before. They also have a team deathmatch option, something I also wished that we would see soon in a game such as Delta Force. There's some realistic topography going on in the game when it comes to the actual maps, taking us to places such as Warsaw, Berlin, Moscow, Polarny, Smolensk, Gobi, Tokyo, and also DMZ between South and North Korea, or in Istanbul for that sake, since this is supposed to be a global military conflict. I believe many of the maps plays quite well, even though some of the servers aren't completely filled with players. I honestly prefer some of the maps here in World War III over some of the maps in Delta Force, if I'm gonna be honest. When it comes to the infamous performance in this game, I could still see the flaws sometimes when playing. For example, some players or vehicles almost teleporting on the map. It has to be said, even though the servers were slightly improved some years ago, it's still the problem. And the Unreal Engine 4 graphics engine delivers some decent graphics, that has to be said, definitely okay for me, also now in 2025, although the audio in the game would need an overhaul, mainly thinking about weapon sounds. That would indeed add more to the immersive feeling when playing being on a battlefield. I can understand if some players believe that World War III got what it deserved kind of saying, since it's been kept alive by a handful of players only. But at the same time, the game itself had or have still maybe potential that was never fully taken care of by Farm 51 foremost, and was never able to fix the game. It is unfortunately just as simple as that. Because with better development and management, this game would maybe have been able to have a pretty healthy player base even today, many years later. As I hinted earlier in this video, I do prefer some of the features, design and gameplay moments in World War III over what I'm currently experiencing in a game such as BF2042 or even Delta Force. So again, it's a pity that we never got to see World War III's full potential and what kind of alternative it could have become to some of the other titles mentioned. Well, I guess we'll never know, and it would take a miracle or something similar if this game would actually blow up once more. It never really did. It was about to, but it didn't. It was supposed to be this Battlefield killer, but of course it wasn't. Well, instead, I hope that some of you guys watching are at least willing to try out the game and see what you think yourself. It might be easier to get into this game just for fun now, when at least some improvements have been made over time, and as a newcomer, probably easier compared to someone that just got enough of all the mistakes being made during World War III's most active development cycle. With that said, I would love to hear from you what you think. If you've come this far in the video, I also want to say thank you for taking your time watching the video, and if you enjoyed, please give a like on the video since it helps me out here on YouTube. Hope to see you soon again in a future video, and with that said, I wish you a great day. So, over and out. Later.
Your UAV is ready for deployment. Objective Bravo 2 is under attack.
Box. Pull back.
Objective Alpha 2 is under attack. Enemy radars are being jammed. Taking hold of Objective Bravo 2.
Right there.
Our units are Charlie 2. Our units are taking hold of Objective Bravo 2. Our units are taking hold of Objective Bravo 1.